And for more on these investments that aid economic, social, and environmental sustainability, we're joined by William Black, a former federal regulator and current professor of economics and law at the University of Missouri. William, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So Morgan Stanley has launched the Institute for Sustainable Investing and has pledged $1 billion towards the cause, saying the goal, and I quote, is to advance market-based solutions to economic, social, and environmental challenges. William, what does that mean?
That means that they are getting really kicked in the teeth in terms of their reputation. And this is a device to try to make money and to try to restore some of their reputation.
So you see this as a big PR exercise?
Well, it's primarily a PR exercise. They would very much like to have people give them funds to invest. And if Americans say that they would like to invest in socially responsible or renewable things, then, you know, Goldman
what does that mean? What does that mean? Explain what is investing in socially responsible or socially sustainable investments.
Socially responsible means whatever people like. Renewable tends to mean one or more of the following three things. First, that you don't use up all the non-renewables before your grandkids have a chance. Second, that you don't produce global climate change that will cripple the place. And third, that you create and maintain biodiversity so that if, as they say, we have 9 billion people, we don't wipe out half the species of animals and plant life in doing so.
So in terms of actual sectors, we're looking at obviously renewable energy, clean energy. We're not looking at any kind of fossil fuel investments, I'm gathering. Tell me, what are the categories? Like, what would an example of a socially responsible investment be?
Well, again, socially responsible means whatever people think it means. That phrase has essentially no content. The money,
where is the money going?
Right. First, most of the money is not going through private funds. When they say they want market-based solutions, the market-based answer is that the money does not go to renewable purposes because it doesn't pay as well. In economic jargon, these things have enormous positive externalities. That means the money, the benefits flow not just to the individual investor. And of course, Wall Street is not into that type of thing at all. So primarily this is done in the public sector, not in the private sector. And there are tremendous problems with the public sector. There are hundreds, literally, of these efforts. They're not very well integrated, and they are overwhelmingly addressed towards the richest nations. And the biggest needs in terms of protecting biodiversity and renewables and such are in the poorest nations, in particular in Africa, but also large parts of India, for example.
Okay, so the idea is to invest, from what you're telling me, in whatever the cause du jour is, but as long as money is still being made, and you're saying that that is not really the case if the investments were to be to be made outside of North America.
Right, so you can't have a market solution where there are these enormous positive externalities that come about by making these expenditures. What you can have, and we do have, is enormous programs in which the public sector subsidizes the private sector. And some of these, of course, were in the stimulus program. And of course, one of them is highly criticized, Solyndra, because it failed. But of course, many businesses fail.
Right.
So that one's sort of a silly criticism, since the usual answer from CEOs, for example, when you talk to them, is you must risk failure all the time. And this is not new. I mean, we've had this mixture of public-private through the entire existence of the United States, and long before the United States existed. Of course, it's existed for millennia outside. And so most human development was some mixture of private folks trying to make a profit and the government trying to stimulate typically an infrastructure.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much, William Black, former federal regulator and current professor of economics and law at the University of Missouri. Thanks for joining us tonight.